From that time on, of course, my position in the town was very different. I was no longer a poor cobbler's son. I carried my nose in the air as I went down the high street with Jip in his gold collar at my side. And snobbish little boys who had despised me before because I was not rich enough to go to school now pointed me out to their friends and whispered, "You see him? He's a doctor's assistant, and only 10 years old." But their eyes would have opened still wider with wonder if they had but known that I and the dog that was with me could talk to one another. 2 days after the doctor had been to our house to dinner, he told me very sadly that he was afraid that he would have to give up trying to learn the language of the shellfish, at all events for the present. "I'm very discouraged, Stubbins, very. I've tried the mussels and the clams, the oysters and the whelks, cockles and scallops, 7 different kinds of crabs and all the lobster family. I think I'll leave it for the present and go at it again later on." "What will you turn to now?" I asked. "Well, I rather thought of going on a voyage, Stubbins. It's quite a time now since I've been away. And there is a great deal of work waiting for me abroad." "When shall we start?" I asked. "Well, first I shall have to wait till the purple bird of paradise gets here. I must see if she has any message for me from Long Arrow. She's late. She should have been here 10 days ago. I hope to goodness she's all right." "Well, hadn't we better be seeing about getting a boat?" I said. "She is sure to be here in a day or so, and there will be lots of things to do to get ready in the meantime, won't there?" "Yes, indeed," said the doctor. "Suppose we go down and see your friend Joe, the mussel man. He will know about boats." "I'd like to come too," said Jip. "All right, come along," said the doctor, and off we went. Joe said yes, he had a boat, one he had just bought, but it needed 3 people to sail her. We told him we would like to see it anyway. So the mussel man took us off a little way down the river and showed us the neatest, prettiest little vessel that ever was built. She was called the Curlew. Joe said he would sell her to us cheap. But the trouble was that the boat needed 3 people, while we were only 2. "Of course I shall be taking Chi-Chi," said the doctor. "But although he is very quick and clever, he is not as strong as a man. We really ought to have another person to sail a boat as big as that." "I know of a good sailor, doctor," said Joe, "a first-class seaman who would be glad of the job." "No, thank you, Joe," said Dr. Dolittle. "I don't want any seamen. I couldn't afford to hire them. And then they hamper me so, seamen do. When I'm at sea, they're always wanting to do things the proper way. And I like to do them my way. Now let me see, who could we take with us?" "There's Matthew Mugg, the cat's meat man," I said. "No, he wouldn't do. Matthew's a very nice fellow, but he talks too much, mostly about his rheumatism. You have to be frightfully particular whom you take with you on long voyages." "How about Luke the hermit?" I asked. "That's a good idea. Splendid, if he'll come. Let's go and ask him right away." The hermit was an old friend of ours, as I have already told you. He was a very peculiar person. Far out on the marshes he lived in a little bit of a shack, all alone except for his brindle bulldog. No one knew where he came from, not even his name, just Luke the Hermit, folks called him. He never came into the town, never seemed to want to see or talk to people. His dog, Bob, drove them away if they came near his hut. When you asked anyone in Puddleby who he was or why he lived out in that lonely place by himself, the only answer you got was, "Oh, Luke the Hermit." Well, there's some mystery about him. Nobody knows what it is. But there's a mystery. Don't go near him. He'll set the dog on you. Nevertheless, there were two people who often went out to that little shack on the fens, the doctor and myself. And Bob, the bulldog, never barked when he heard us coming. For we liked Luke, and Luke liked us. This afternoon, crossing the marshes, we faced a cold wind blowing from the east. As we approached the hut, Jip put up his ears and said, "That's funny." "What's funny?" asked the doctor. "That Bob hasn't come out to meet us. He should have heard us long ago, or smelt us." "What's that queer noise?" "Sounds to me like a gate creaking," said the doctor. "Maybe it's Luke's door, only we can't see the door from here. It's on the far side of the shack." "I hope Bob isn't sick," said Jip, and he let out a bark to see if that would call him. But the only answer he got was the wailing of the wind across the wide, salt fen. We hurried forward, all three of us thinking hard. When we reached the front of the shack, we found the door open, swinging and creaking dismally in the wind. We looked inside. There was no one there. "Isn't Luke at home then?" said I. "Perhaps he's out for a walk." "He is always at home," said the doctor, frowning in a peculiar sort of way. "And even if he were out for a walk, he wouldn't leave his door banging in the wind behind him. There is something queer about this." "What are you doing in there, Jip?" "Nothing much, nothing worth speaking of," said Jip, examining the floor of the hut extremely carefully. "Come here, Jip," said the doctor in a stern voice. "You are hiding something from me. You see signs and you know something, or you guess it. What has happened? Tell me. Where is the hermit?" "I don't know," said Jip, looking very guilty and uncomfortable. "I don't know where he is." "Well, you know something. I can tell it from the look in your eye." "What is it?" But Jip didn't answer. For 10 minutes the doctor kept questioning him. But not a word would the dog say. "Well," said the doctor at last, "it is no use our standing around here in the cold. The hermit's gone. That's all. We might as well go home to luncheon." As we buttoned up our coats and started back across the marsh, Jip ran ahead, pretending he was looking for water rats. "He knows something all right," whispered the doctor. "And I think he knows what has happened too. It's funny, he's not wanting to tell me. He has never done that before, not in 11 years. He has always told me everything. Strange, very strange." "Do you mean you think he knows all about the hermit, the big mystery about him which folks hinted and all that?" "I shouldn't wonder if he did," the doctor answered slowly. "I noticed something in his expression the moment we found the door open and the hut empty. And the way he sniffed the floor too, it told him something, that floor did. He saw signs we couldn't see. I wonder why he won't tell me." I'll try him again. Here, Chip, Chip, where is the dog? I thought he went on in front. So did I said. He was there a moment ago. I saw him as large as life. Chip, 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 Chip. But he was gone. We called and called. We even walked back to the hut. But Chip had disappeared. Oh well, I said, most likely he has just run home ahead of us. He often does that, you know. We'll find him there when we get back to the house. But the doctor just closed his coat collar tighter against the wind and strode on muttering, odd, very odd.